Hey everyone, it's triplemangothreat. I got some great things from Card Kingdom that I'd love to show you. Let's open it right up. Let's see what we got. Wow, they actually all fit it. Yeah, I got a lot of cards. So this is the token that they made. It is awesome. Thank you so much for making this. At Guini. Follow them on Instagram if you really like their art. Thank you so much. Okay, and I also got a fairy token from Card Kingdom. Very nice. I really like that art. And a little peanut to protect the cards. Okay. So we got Kiora's Follower. This is for, I don't remember why I bought this. I think it's for MOT. So I got some vampires for my husband. I got Vampire of the Dire Moon, Indulging Patrician, Vampire Hexmage, Minions Murmurs. So this is you draw X and lose X, where X is the number of creatures you control. Shallow Alley Denizen, which is really important. It doesn't have a great ability, but the CMC of these vampires is really important because he has a lot of vampires that are really high CMC. So again, even if they're just one CMC, he's going to get a token from Edgar Markov. Now, Dictate of Karametra, I got this for Yurlok. Changeling Outcast is a shapeshifter and a changeling, which means it's every creature type. So this is a vampire that can go in my husband's deck, Sky Marcher Aspirant. This is going to go in Yurlok. It's Stoneshaker Shaman for 2 and a red. It's a 1/1. At the end of each player's turn, that player sacrifices an untapped land. So you better tap your lands. So Ruly Caretaker, tap any. Oh, okay. Now I remember where this is going. So these are going in my Arkelos deck, the Turtle Shaman. I'll show you in a second. So we can untap a permanent. This can tap an untapped creature and get us mana. Tapping creatures with Loam Dryad. Thrix, the Sudden Storm. This would go in MOT because MOT promotes CMC of 6 or greater that you're able to cascade. So casting things with 5 CMC or greater is going to cost 1 less, and they can't be countered. So this is great. Thunderous Snapper. Whenever you cast a card with CMC 5 or greater, we get to draw a card. Cruel Celebrant, which is a vampire. Tidal Force Elemental, we can tap or untap target creature. And when a land enters under our control, we can untap Tidal Force, or Tide Force Elemental. Sulfuric Vortex. So for 1 red, it's an enchantment. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, Sulfuric Vortex deals 2 damage to that player. If a player would gain life, they gain no life instead. Zerta Ancient. Whenever a player taps a land for mana, they get an additional, and this is going to go in Yurlok. Spell Shock is going in Yurlok as well. Whenever a player successfully casts a spell, it deals 2 damage to him or her. Populate, I'm putting this in the Vampire deck. This is another thing to Cascade, and it also gives us Cascade. So we'll get 2 Cascade triggers just by casting this. Dawnglade Regent. When it enters, I become the Monarch, and permanents I control have Hexproof. So Explosion of Riches for 5 and a red, draw a card, then each other player may draw a card. Whenever a card is drawn this way, Explosion of Riches deals 5 damage to target opponent chosen at random from among your opponents. So the worst case scenario is we pay 6 to draw a card. But this is very tempting for our opponents. Why? I would take the risk if everyone else was going to do it. So I thought this was a cool card. Gillenra, Caller of the Wirewood. We can add a green. When you spend this mana to cast a spell with CMC 6 or greater, we get to draw a card. And just a lot of cards that have Cascade for MOT. And this is going to destroy an enchantment or artifact. Alright. So I had to get the foil-etched Arkelos Lagoon Mystic. That looks nice. Wow. I hope the camera can really show it, but... Okay. For those who don't know, 1 in Sultai, it's a 2/4 Turtle Shaman. As long as Arkelos is tapped, other permanents enter tapped. As long as he's untapped, other permanents enter untapped. So with those cards I mentioned earlier, we can tap him on our opponent's turn, and so their permanents are going to enter tapped. I got the foil-etched Gen Arcanum Weaver. This is all about enchantments. We can pay Mardu to cast again. For a 2/3 human wizard, we can pay Mardu again to tap him, sacrifice an enchantment, return target enchantment card from your graveyard to the battlefield. And what's really cool is, again's flavor text. Any apprentice with a spellbook and 2 sticks can churn out a fireball. This is different. This is art. Yeah. Oh, here we go. That's cool. Yeah, it's kind of like, I don't know how to describe it. It's like a weird pattern on it. Yeah, okay. Foil Quain. So, Azorius, 1/3 Rabbit Wizard, tap it. Each player may draw a card, then each player who drew a card gains 1 life. It's just so nice. Oh, I got more. Okay. So, weird thing. The foil etched Xenagos was actually cheaper than the regular version. So I had to get this because I've always wanted one, and I thought it was a great deal. So it's a 6/5 legendary enchantment god. It's indestructible. You can pay all that for 3 red and a green. If your devotion to red and green is less than 7, Xenagos isn't a creature, but at the beginning of combat on your turn, another target creature you control gains haste and gets +X/+X until end of turn, where X is that creature's power. So we can do some silly things with Xenagos. And I had to get a foil etched Yurlok. His armor's glowing, that's cool. Yurlok is 1 in Jund, 4/4 Vyashino Shaman, has vigilance, and he brings back mana burn. So if you have unspent mana during any of your phases or your turn, you're going to lose that much life. And we can give each player red, black, and green, and Yurlok's flavor text is really cool. The gifts of Jund never come without a price. Tectonic Instability for 2 and a red. Whenever a land comes into play, tap all lands its controller controls. So if our opponents don't spend their mana when a land comes into play, they're losing all of that, or I'm forcing them to tap their lands to get mana, and so they're going to lose more life with Yurlok. Another vampire. And this is actually on theme because when one or more non-token vampires you control attack, you're going to get a 1/1 white token vampire with lifelink. So Perpetual Timepiece is going to go into Arami. It's going to help me mill and get more cards into my graveyard, and hopefully those will all be creatures. Milliken, again, putting cards into my graveyard, and I get a colorless for doing so. Pyrostatic Pillar for 1 and a red. Whenever a player casts a spell with CMC 3 or less, it deals 2 damage to that player. Keeper of Progenitus for 3 and a green. It's a 1/3 elf druid. Whenever a player taps a mountain, forest, or plains for mana, they add 1 mana to his or her mana pool of any type that land produced. Burning Earth for 3 and a red. Whenever a player taps a non-basic land for mana, Burning Earth deals 1 damage to that player. So this is the one I was excited about. Citadel of Pain for 2 and a red. At the end of each player's turn, Citadel of Pain deals X damage to that player, where X is the number of untapped lands he or she controls. So with Yurlok, if you're not tapping your lands for mana, you're going to take damage anyways. Power Surge. It's a red, it's an enchantment. It was actually surprising how cheap this was, because I'll tell you what it does and I'll tell you how much I paid for it. During each player's upkeep, Power Surge deals that player 1 damage for each land he or she controls that was untapped at the beginning of the turn before the untap phase. So at the beginning of their turn, they're taking 1 damage for each land that was untapped. So at the end of their turn, at the beginning of their turn, they're losing life. Springleaf Drum. Tap 1 untapped creature you control, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. So this is going to go in Arkelos because I want to find a lot of ways to tap him on my opponent's turn, because only I want the benefit of having my permanents come in untapped. And last we have Zurin Orb. For 0, we can sacrifice a land and gain 2 life. So why would I get this card? Well, cards that love sacrificing lands are going to love this card, and lands matter, that we can get lands back from the grave, is really going to love it. It's in pretty interesting condition, but hey, it's the card, and that's all that matters. Got to give the beat up cards some love, huh? Alright, let's see how much I paid for Power Surge. So pretty much the same thing as Citadel of Pain. So Citadel of Pain, I paid $4 for that, $4.19. Power Surge is 40 cents. So look, a $3 difference, but does pretty much the same thing, and it's cheaper CMC. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode of what I bought. I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.